Right, welcome back everybody. Welcome back to the 12th Man, another version tonight. Tonight we're at the Swan and Hedgehog in Ipswich Town Centre, formerly the Swan. Sits just beneath the Town Hall in Town Centre, here with Mark Beck and obviously Max Helm from Blue Action. How are you doing, boys? Good?
Yeah, good mate.
Good.
Thanks for having me, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Right, so the Swan, we've got I do a array of beers in here, but they're open, throughout the entire week, 7 days I think by the looks of it. But they do a happy hour Sunday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on selected drinks, open 7 days a week like I just said there. But they've got Sky Sports at the moment and just waiting for BT Sports, and then they're off and running. So it looks good. They've done well with it, and certainly brought it back to life. Some would say it had a bit of culture before, but maybe it's what the town needed. I don't know, but there we go. Let's move on. Anyway, let's get into it. Me and Mark need to make an apology firstly. We need to make an apology. We tried to step up on Saturday, and we completely failed, didn't we?
We did. Oh, mate, that's the most stressful 4-1 win I've ever had in my life, I think. I set an alarm at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning trying to get that footage over to Ash. It was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. But don't you worry, Fleetwood will be out before we get home.
That's the last time we attempt to film in 4K ever again. Anyway, let's move on from that. So Ipswich women beat fellow promotion hopefuls Billericay Town 2-1 on Sunday. Go top of the league. Both Paige Speak and Natasha Thomas were on target with their third goals of the season, and it puts the girls right at the top of the league. I mean, they're doing well, and they're certainly going for a promotion this season, aren't they, Mark?
They definitely are. I think we're going to have to get 2 double-decker buses at this rate. The boys are going to be on one, the girls will be on the other, I think, at the minute.
I'll tell you what, we're right on Cornhill now, but it's going to be sensational at the end of the season when we get a promotion tour bus going around the town. Another news, look out for my interview with James Norwood coming out soon. The full interview, which was last week, will be going out to the channel in the coming weeks. It was when we presented him with the what was it now? Forget. PFA Fans Player of the Month award. I've got a terrible memory now, I tell you, too much going on. Apart from that, former Blue and Northern Irish international Gareth McAuley's retired from football. Did you hear about that one, Max?
Yes, mate.
You remember him?
Love G-Mac, yeah. It was quality. He was it was quite slow and cumbersome. One of them defenders who always managed to get himself to the right place, right time.
Yeah.
He was actually perhaps quite an underrated defender for us, I think. I don't think people realise how good Gareth McAuley really was. It was, I think it's a bit of a shame that he played at what was a very, chaotic period in the club's history, really. I think in a more stable side, perhaps now, he'd been absolute legend. I loved Gareth McAuley.
Before he moved on to the Premier League and spent 7 years with West Brom, when he left us, he was 32. I'm sure he was. Yeah. I think he's just retired. I think he's 39 now. Yeah. So he made 127 appearances for us, scoring 8 goals, and then spent 7 years in the Premier League with West Brom. Yeah. I mean, you're a big GMAC fan, weren't you?
Yeah, I was honestly gutted when I saw him go. I thought that was he was a very high quality defender, and obviously he showed that when he moved up to the Premier League. He was scoring regularly, always a danger at set pieces. That's sort of the sign of where we were heading, I think, really, to lose that sort of quality of player, sort of to show where we were going to go. Because I don't think he went on did he go on a free?
Yeah, I mean he did.
Yeah, exactly. That shows sort of where we were heading, unfortunately, and where we are now. But best of luck. Best of luck to him if he goes into management or anything. I could quite easily see that. Definitely a leader. Great stalwart for the club, and just a great pro in general, really.
You'd argue with the quality that he was playing with at the time. We had the likes of Leadbitter, Edwards, who had just come down from the Premier League, but Connor Wickham comes to mind, who went up to the Premier League, Johnny Walters, Damien Delaney. I mean, all those kinds of players played a lot in the Premier League, didn't they?
Well, I think, again, it goes to show the problems behind the scenes, and it was obviously the fabled Roy Keane, the banter era, I believe, is what we call it, and just goes to show how poor things were behind the scenes. A lot of players came in, and on paper it was actually a decent squad, but no one can make them gel. Yeah. There was no real long-term vision. It was just, let's get as many players together so we can somehow crash into the Premier League without any real structure, any real sort of long-term goal. And it just goes to show what a mess it was, really. And that's probably a good case in point right there, really.
Yeah, we never got out of it. We never got out of that mess. We got relegated. And we find ourselves with a new set of goals now. But we'll get on to that in a bit more later. Yeah. But looking at what's on the cards at the moment, we're currently sitting top of the league. But let's just look at our next 5 games. 3 of the next 5 games are at home, including the Leeson.com Champions League trophy tie against Gillingham. Obviously a massive game.
Huge attendance.
Huge attendance.
Got a box office fight. It's Evans versus Lambert round 2 going on as well on the sidelines. So, yeah,
Joshua and Reece Junior, mate.
It's the undercards, the official undercard. Yeah. But yeah, as much as we're kind of taking the piss of it a little bit. It's another home game, tenner a ticket. How often, there's been a lot made about the ticket prices at the minute. Yeah. Can't complain if it's only a tenner to go and watch Ipswich.
Well, I expect the attendances to go up because that now proves to be the only home game we're having the whole of October. Due to the Wickham game, be announced today as postponed. It's Tuesday today. This video will come out on Thursdays now, just prior to the Saturday fixture. But we'll talk about everything during the week before we get up to it. But the likelihood that Town could lose the potential of 7 first team or reserve team players that could be linked to the first team squad is enough to call off the fixture, wouldn't you say?
Well, I've got no real objection to it. I think the trouble is calling the games off now might give us a bit of respite, but they will have to be played at some point. So doesn't mean that come sort of February, March, April time when hopefully we really need to kick on, because hopefully we'll be in very much a promotion scrap then. Those games will come thick and fast. So I think now the squad's looking fresh. It's a lot of players back from injury. We've got the personnel to do it. So I get it maybe once or twice, but every opportunity to cancel the game, I don't know. But I trust Lambert is, I trust him implicitly. So he's clearly got a plan, and yeah.
I mean, how many international breaks are we going to come up against this season?
I'm not sure. I think we've got one in November potentially. The Oxford game is another doubt potentially, and then I think we're safe until potentially March. But a lot's been made about this records that we've had. I can't remember. It's in double figures how many times we've lost.
I think it's 27 times in a row.
On a game. But you've got to remember, a lot of that time we've had the absolute dross of McCarthy, Porno Paul, and Roy Keane. It's going to be, records are made to be broken, and I think we are going to break it eventually. I fully trust Lambert, and if you ask any manager, add to your injuries, we're going to take away 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 of your first team players or fringe players before going into a game against second in the division as it stands. The manager's going to call that game off if given the option. So trust Lambert, he knows what he's doing.
I mean, you've got to say potentially 2 of those that could go out on international duty are going to be Downs and Judge. Third only to Dazelle. Those 2, the first 2 are vitally important to our first team squad, aren't they?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. And you forget about people say about sort of Dobra and El Mizuni. You think they're just they're squad players. It's not a big deal. But you forget about Downs and Judge, who are key and pivotal. I've got no real problem with it. It's a shame. We're going to see more football, but if it means that the players come back fighting fit, and just so my only concern is obviously later on in the season when those fixtures have to be made up again. But then maybe our opponents will be a bit wearier. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. So
no, it's not. No, we can move on to that. Move on from that nicely. Now, 10 games are gone now, boys, and we can firmly look at the season so far and say, look, we're in a position to push on from. But statistically, we can look at it in a certain way. So far, we've scored 20 goals for and conceded 5. That's averaging 2 goals a game. Conceding on average less than 1 goal a game. 4 wins and 1 draw from the last 5. 10 goals from either midfield and defence, and 10 from up front. So, I mean, we're scoring in the right positions, doing well. We're unbeaten in 10. The only team to have won their first 7 of their opening 10 league games in England at the moment. So we're in good stead. Yeah. We started really well. And nothing to complain about, in my opinion. If anything, if we were coming into last week, I would have said we've not scored too many goals. Yeah. Come out on Saturday, score 4. You can't complain, can you?
Exactly, it's perfect. I think we've been saying for quite a while we still haven't hit top gear, but you can't complain at the position. For a team that we all feel has not hit top gear to be top of the league, unbeaten, 7 wins, 3 draws, there's no real arguments there. If you want to be real nitpicky, there's been a few individual mistakes which have cost us a couple of points, but ultimately, I think if it gave any Ipswich Town fan the start of the season, they would have bit your hand off, because nobody knew what we were going to go into this season.
I mean, I speak to Mark each week about all these kind of topics, Max. But from your point of view, how do you feel like the season's gone so far?
Yeah, well, I'll spend most of my time back to the pitch, looking at the crowd really. But it's been quality for what's brilliant about this season, and I know to an extent it's expected because we are down in division. But you're going into games thinking, we're going to win this, or have that confidence, as opposed to how it was before. We think, well, we're going to, sort of just try and match up the opposition, see if we can, get something out of it. But I think we probably outshot, outpassed our opponents in every single game, or at least been level or whatever, and it's such a refreshing feeling, because we've had so many people forget, like under McCarthy and whatnot, for such a long period of time. We were consistently basically outplayed by our opponents, and the results came almost in spite of what we were doing, rather than as an active sort of approach by Bob McCarthy, the way he set his teams up. So it's just nice to see us going in and just taking teams on and just thinking, try and beat us, it's nice, it's good. I hope it continues, Yeah.
Makes a good change. Obviously, we've got to look at individuals now. Jackson, for me, has looked outstanding this season so far. 10 games, 5 goals. On the other hand, Norwood, there's a kind of feeling around the club that we expect more from him. The question is, why? Why do we expect more from him?
His records speak for itself. He's the highest scoring English player in the last 2 seasons, I believe it was, wasn't it? Obviously lower down divisions he's had to step up, but he's that talismanic player that we all expected, and I think he does a lot of work that goes unnoticed. There's a lot of hard battling which allows other players maybe to come into the game, but you have to critique his one-on-ones. I don't know what his obsession is with a chip. All the time it seems to be he tries that chip. I don't know whether it's just something he wants to get off his list, that a chip is in he's not scored many of them. I don't know, but I think we're in a lucky position where we're playing so well as a team that it doesn't matter.
Goals don't really matter.
But when you get into the tail end of the season, where you need someone to be scoring goals, that's when you think, Norwood, you've got to step your game up. Hopefully it's just getting this out of the system. He's still got that niggling groin injury, don't really know how much that's affecting him. It's adjusting to a new division, it will take a little bit of time. You've got to forget he was at Tranmere for a few seasons before he started really firing, so it might just take a little bit more time, but it's not too costly as it stands.
He's getting chances. I think we forget that we have so few chances a game under the previous regime, but it's just so refreshing that every game we 4 or 5 really good chances. And also I think it's actually a dangerous game, relying so much on a solitary goal scorer. We've got 4 goal scorers on Saturday, and you think throughout the season we must have had about 7 or 8 different goal scorers. I think that's actually much more important than having 1 goal. I mean, it's got a nice morale. That season when Murphy scored those 27 goals, you do feel quite smug that you got the top goal scorer in the division. But ultimately, we want to have 4 or 5 players that can all chip in with goals. So I'm glad that I don't want Norwood to be. I want him to get goals, but if we expect too much from him, it's actually detrimental for him and actually for the rest of the team.
Yeah, you're right. You're completely right. And taking something from that, it's not just about that one individual that gives you a certain amount of goals. It's about others. And I mention this every week. James Wilson, 7 league games, 7 starts, 7 wins. I mean, could one man have more of an impact in Ipswichshire?
He's been brilliant. I think we say it every week. He's the one person that was written off before he even put one toe in Portman Road. He was written off. He's not even good enough for Lincoln. He's come in. It just shows the right manager, the right mentality. He's come in and he's proven that he's a key member of that squad. I think Saturday, he had a good old battle with Paul Mullen. That was a hell of a battle. I thought there was going to be blood at the end of that. It was a savage battle. That
Quite
was.
tenacious, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But he's a fighter.
Was it that massive one at the back for Tram?
No, we talk about Paul Mullen. That's number 9 up front. He was quite. He was like
The whole game.
banging him the whole game, weren't he, basically. But they had that another. What was that other guy up front they had?
Connor Jennings or
No, that number 45, the big one.
Stephen Payne.
Yeah, he was quite a big bloke to handle. But apart from just obviously Wilson, we've got to look at across the back line as well. Garbutt and Vincent Young. Now, we said a lot about Vincent Young, and for me, undoubtedly a player that's going to go all the way to the Premier League. We say that week in and week out.
Yeah.
But Garbutt's one that's it's been out of injury and just continues to deliver. Now, that free kick he scored on Saturday was absolutely sensational, and it wouldn't be out of favour against the likes of Ronaldo and Messi, would it?
Well, yeah. Actually, I think Ronaldo misses most of his, so actually probably a little bit better than his ones. But but he's technically a really good footballer. Sweet left foot, and it's the same. You've got a fullback. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure it was Alex Ferguson that said once about every great side has great fullbacks. Yeah. I think when you've got a player, I mean, it gives you such an extra threat, a fullback that can bomb forward, score goals, and still get back, make those tackles. I think Garbutt and Vincent Young as a pair in either side, then that really could be, the absolute key to success. You're saying if they're going to ping goals in like that as well, then again it just adds to these multiple threats that we have going forward. That's quality, mate. I love it.
We need to concentrate on ourselves and going forward. Garbutt's a player that has been touted to be signing for Ipswich at the end of his 1-year loan deal.
That'd be quality.
Undoubtedly, that'd be quality, yeah, like you say, but undoubtedly we have competition.
Yeah, he's putting himself in. That's the whole idea of loans, for himself and for Everton. He's putting himself in the market, and God forbid, I can't see it, but if we don't go up, he could easily get a championship move for the way he's playing at the minute. That free kick, I don't think I've seen a better free kick since Jimmy Juan was here. That's
I was going to say Bullard there for a second.
Jimmy Juan, but
Yeah, Sheffield United at home. I remember 5-1.
That was beautiful, wasn't it? But Vincent Young, I don't need to say any more about him. It's very clear how I feel about him, the certified baller. But I really hope we can get the Garbutt deal done, and it might even be a case of biting the bullet in January and putting our hands in the pocket for a nominal fee to get him in a little bit earlier.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. 100% agree. Looking at personal performances again, Holy could have been our, leading consecutive clean sheet holder in the history of Ipswich Town on Saturday. Let's just have a quick word about that goal.
It's about 5 minutes. I think we had to get the 39th minute, didn't we? We could see the 30. Okay. It was minutes. There was minutes in it for sure. Well, again, I didn't really see what happened, but I saw the highlights. Obviously, and it was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? It was frustrating because again, it does feel like if we are going to criticise the start so far, it does feel like a little bit that we give the opponents the opportunities a little bit too much, and there was a lot of sloppiness leading up to that goal. Not the first time we've seen that. I think Chambers sort of dilly-dallied a little bit, didn't he? And it felt like the ball kept sort of going from side to side. At some point, someone just get your foot in, get rid of it. So that was frustrating.
I think that's a weakness of ours, letting teams walk over us, especially in the first half against Tranmere.
Yeah, I mean, again, did they really threaten us? Did they really get in behind us that much? I think we give the opponents a lot of possession. We invite them on a little bit, which again we're getting away with. We can get away with in this division. Hopefully that will be shored up a little bit if and when we're in the Championship next season, because that would be my one criticism. Is sometimes I think the classic example of Milton Keynes game, first half is probably the best I've seen Ipswich play. I can't even remember when. I mean, we were just complete and utter domination. Second half, we thought all we had to do was just keep the ball, just pass it around a little bit, take the wind out their sails. 6, 7, 8 passes, and I feel like we've done that a little bit. We kind of let the opponent play in front of us a little bit. You can get away with it, but all it needs is one team to say, do you know, I'm going to bang one from 20 yards. It goes in. Something else happens. Next, you're 2-3-0 down. Yeah. So that would be my one criticism, but it is minor, because we have, at the end of the day, the teams aren't scoring, we're scoring. Yeah. So there's no need to get too panicky about it.
No, we're in an ideal position pushing forward. But let's take our minds off the football now. Let's have a look into Blue Action, mate.
Oh, there we go, mate.
Let's go into next on the agenda. Back to Blue Action. So it's been a little over maybe a year since we last spoke. on the channel, but obviously me and you go a bit further back than that. Why don't we just let everyone know how me and you first met? How did we first get to know each other?
Just, fate brings people together, doesn't it, Ash? I think, it was just over in Section 5 here towards the back, yeah.
Yeah.
I just got a season ticket, and I think we just...
So it's a bit ironic, isn't it? Because we sat together for about, 3 or 4 years, got to know each other really well. Some of your songs were absolutely shocking, buddy, but...
Oh, come on now.
Go on.
Well, we had
the brew. Have you got the brew?
In the middle with brew. That was a classic, mate. They deserved a lot more airtime. And do you know what? Maybe we'll bring it back. Just for that, a little tribute to Kevin Brew's.
Section 5 died all over again when he brought that one out.
He should come back for if Chambers gets a testimonial, we'll get Kevin Brew back, and then we can bring it out.
Yeah. Get McCarthy back for the testimony.
Yeah. We had a bit of fun back then, didn't we? And and then obviously we started up Blue Action.
Yeah.
I think you contacted Rich via our Twitter page at the time, and then he said, he says he knows you. And that was that. So we sort of reunited.
Made a bit of a shout, and that was probably really where the cogs started to turn really for Blue Action and everything, and especially for me as well. The two went hand in hand, I would have said. What's happened with Ipswich Fanzone is simultaneously gone on with Blue Action. Not the same thing, but
I think what we want, I hope really it signals a bit of sort of an explosion, in support and perhaps a football and terrace culture in Ipswich. I mean, we'd love this to be, the start of a boom really across all fans. Everybody doing something to show their support and their devotion to the club. So I hope that is. I hope this is. I hope lots of people think, do you know what? That's an inspiration for us to do our own little thing, and because I think it's important. I think obviously we're doing our thing, but we want this to be seen as a call to everyone, a sort of a plea to everyone to say, what can you do to support the club and show your love and devotion for the club. So I guess that is all sort of coming. Everyone is doing all this stuff at the same time, and it's great. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So we come to year 2. Obviously, in the year since we first had a chat on the channel, you've had the car display, the Light Will Never Go Out display, the Lambo display. Have you got any more plans for the future?
And of course, follow the town up or down, mate.
Follow the town up or down. Was it?
That was the first one.
That was the opening one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was quality, that one. We're working on something at the moment. Obviously, it's all we don't want to reveal too much because it's quite important to us that the surprise and the surprise factor sort of adds to it. I think people have appreciate the Lambo one a lot more because of that. There's a lot of people sort of going, we want to know what it is, and you think, well, it's going to completely diminish from the effect if we do that. Trust us, it's not going to be anything. It's going to be it's not going to be anything outrageous. It's going to be something that you're going to enjoy. We're working on something at the moment. Obviously, stuff's all DIY, it's all handmade, it's all done with these fair hands, and Rich does most of the donkey work on it. Bless him, he's the real creative spark.
He's the Suffolk punch of the group, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, mate. I was thinking like that. Yeah, okay, gotcha. He's the draft horse, mate. He's the ploughing his furrow, and So obviously, it all depends on we've got day jobs and that. As much as we'd love this to be our full time job, so it takes time. But working on something, and I think we're making good headway with it. It's gonna be a good one. Yeah.
Good. In terms of backing, obviously. Paul Lambert, Leo Neal, those are the kinds of guys that you got backing from, give you the confidence to push forward. But what constraints do you get at football at the moment? What is causing problems, that you're aware of?
Yeah, things have obviously progressed really well, and things are great. And I think we sometimes fret about certain situations, but maybe it's just a bit of impatience, a bit of impetuousness, because actually we're in a really good place at the moment. We've got a really good set of lads that are really dedicated, and just everything we want from our ultras, which is I guess ultimately what we aspire to be. But I think it's still where we're based is still something that we're thinking about, because obviously the ideal is that we get more central. Victims of our own success in some ways, because I think because of some of the shift in attitude about what it means to support a football club has meant that a lot of people I think got behind the side this year. So as a result, we've kind of not got a lot of space down in the north stand. So moving about is quite hard in there. So I have to think long and hard about that, because Section 6 is great, and long term isn't really viable for us.
The acoustics are not too good in the north stand, are they?
Well, that's another thing. This is a big deal. That low roof, it's just it's really not ideal. And if only we could go back in time and sort of keep that one cop tier that we had in the north stand. So yeah, that is definitely an issue. But that's something we have to think about, because it's not easy, especially in all-seater stadia. People are, we sort of considered moving elsewhere in the ground, which is still something we're pondering and trying to work out the logistics of. But obviously that's kind of it kind of worries people a little bit, because obviously the North Stand has always been the area where sort of the atmosphere generators tend to congregate. So there's a lot of things you need to think about. It's a minefield, and we'll work it out. But as things stand, we're going about our business, and things are good. I suppose other things that we need to, we still need a lot more, I think, effort from perhaps others. I think the danger is that we become sort of, everything has to come through us. And I think really what we want to see as well is kind of like more people, not just the north stand, perhaps in other parts of the ground, also starting to get involved a little bit. I think we get a little bit frustrated sometimes down there in Section 6 as well. There's a lot of people that you think, what you're doing here, what you're contributing. I get that. Not everybody wants to go to a game and jump around and sing and bang drums and whatnot. I get that. That's fine. But in Section 6, you think that's kind of what that's all about. The North Stand as well. Really, if you're there, surely you're there to make a bit of a din. You've got plenty of other places where you could. So still a little bit of that, but that's a cultural thing, and I think that is not a short-term fix. You've got to change the way people think. You've got to change people's attitudes, But hopefully, if we just keep doing what we do, that people will start thinking, right, what am I doing here? What am I gonna contribute?
I think you came in at such a low time for everyone as a fan base, and I think I have to give you boys credit. You've done so well in just a year. I think when you first started, I think a lot of people were probably a little bit sceptical, thinking, can this really kick off? But the last 12 months, and I've seen it now, like. In 442, they do the season preview. You got mentioned in there by Phil Ham in our little bit. So you got your merchandise, which is really high quality. It's not just some rubbish like phone cases or mugs or anything. It's actually really high quality. But the displays are really, really high quality, and I think you just need to keep. It's going to take a little bit of a while. It's going to get there.
I think people see what we're about now. Obviously, we do take our art very seriously. But we put a lot of thought into it. As I say, we're not fly by night. So not just having a little crack at this. I would be doing this for as long as it's feasible, for as long as my wife lets me. What we really want, we're absolutely serious about this, we're unapologetic in saying that we want this to be a group that's recognised across the country. People know about us. Beyond that, even in Europe, we can start doing displays, and you think some of these European ultra groups say, "Come on, look at those boys over at Ipswich, look at what they're doing." I think people see now that we're really dedicated. We're really, we're really. Trying to do the right thing, and people are behind us. But I think it goes to show that they wanted it all along. I think the only thing we lack, perhaps a little bit of organisation, which is what we did. It's just a question now of just growing and just keep doing our thing. Really.
What would you say about the TIFO culture in England? Essentially, doesn't really match up to what it is in Europe.
Yeah.
There's a real opening in the market, essentially, for a fan base to come through at this moment in time.
You've got to think about environmental factors as well, because ultimately, the laws are so much stricter over here. Although in fairness, actually, once we found the right materials to make that Lambo one, in fairness, and the club deserves a lot of credit for this, they were like, okay, you got the forest certificates.
They were quite forthcoming in the end, weren't they?
Yeah, so that was it. But you think about things like smoke, it's really frustrating actually. You think about smoke bombs, for example.
Yeah.
It's like a mandatory 3-year ban or whatever it is. And you think, in Europe, they just turn a blind eye to it. In MLS, for crying out loud, they actually have designated pyro sections in their stadia. So why on earth can't we do something like that? There was no legitimate reason.
There's definitely things the club could do to make it more enjoyable for us.
That's a government. That's a government policy. I actually messaged the FSA about that, and I sort of said, look, can you start a campaign about this? And they came straight back and said, no, we side with the official law about this. Smoke bombs. They can make people cough and blah blah blah. And you think, well, it's no evidence they cause any problems whatsoever. They do it in Europe, so look at the data. Tell me how many times there's been any sort of serious injuries of people inhaling smoke from a smoke bomb, what have you. So there are things that are going to, unfortunately, fundamentally restrict us on what there's certain things we will never be able to do without like a change of the law in the country. So. But we'll keep working within the sort of the framework we have, and just have to be more creative, I suppose.
That's all you can do, and that's what gives you different content, different things, different ideas come from being within those restraints. Anyway,
That's a very good point.
What do you say about the next year then? What can you say of the next year? It's been a year. You've come up. You're virtually a household name in every Ipswich Town fan's house now, I would say.
Oh, okay, excellent. We'll take
so
that.
Where would you go from now?
Well, I think it's just really recruiting, and obviously what we still want, we want people, and this is what I think is also a little bit of a frustration, and we know this because obviously we're in sort of Section 5 a little bit. There's a lot of people dotting around. You think they're trying to get involved, they want to sing, and I was expecting those people to sort of come over. I think all we've really done is we've got all the lads are in Section 6, sort of atmosphere generators, what have you. We've kind of got those together. We've got one or two that come over now and then, but feels like there's still quite a few who think you can't be having much fun where you are because you're just sort of standing about. So why don't you come over and get involved with us? So I think that's sort of the main thing we'd like to see a little bit more of. I guess it's sort of recruitment, but really the displays are going as we want them to go. It's really just how much more we can do, how much more ambitious we can be. So really it's just carrying on where we are and just sort of growing it, bit by bit. But I think it's getting the movement things. The move is going to be a big deal. That's the thing we need to really think about. But
so in the next year, envisage a move or something that's going to make it better.
I mean, the dream is to get into the middle of section. I mean, that's that's the ideal place. And I think if any group. I think it'll be obvious to the wider fan base that that would be beneficial for everyone. Obviously this is a discussion that we need to have, with the club and whatnot. That would be the dream, I think. That's obviously going to be quite a feat.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. It's changing the culture that currently exists within Section 5. I would say almost certainly.
Yeah. I'm confident that will change because it is we assume like that in places like Germany and I don't know South America somewhere, we assume that these people are sort of born, they pop out into the world, and as soon as they can walk the talk, they're straight down, they're going crazy. These things built up. These are people doing things, and other people think, I'll join in. And a true culture takes potentially. It could take a year, it could take 5 years, 10 years, it could take a generation. Yeah. So if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. But I'm confident that will happen. But it just you got to work at it. And so Mark, you were going to say, mate, I didn't want to.
Well, what would you? I'll ask you, Mark, this rather than what you're going to say. Sorry to interrupt, but from the point of view that everyone says, I saw this after the game on Saturday. People in other areas of the stadium feel insignificant compared to the Bobby Robson lower because they're not involved with the chants, with the making the noise, creating the atmosphere. What do you say to those people?
I mean, part of it is getting involved. Yes, I appreciate on away days. There's been times where, people have travelled 5 hours. It is knackering, it's exhausting, but You know, we found at Bolton and even Gillingham, though it was really hard to get an atmosphere going. It was hard to get an atmosphere going, and you think that is your opportunity. A lot of, you know, the singing culture and actually creating an atmosphere comes at an away game, and it's really what the boys at Blue Action are doing is actually amazing, because it's really hard to galvanise that amount of people in a home game to do that. You know, unfortunately, I think something that Max will probably agree with that he's fighting against, you know, this movement of, you know, hardcore ultraism in football has got a bad image. You know, they're fighting against the media reputation of what it was as opposed to what it is now. You know, what the boys, I can guarantee what happened at the end of last season, where the whole of the North Stand was singing when we got relegated, would never ever have happened without Blue Action. That would never have happened, because they've galvanised that group of fans. But that got slightly a little bit of press. You know, I think Colin Murray mentioned it slightly, that was it. You know, as opposed to Everton and Millwall fans fighting, which isn't what you guys are doing, but it's what is labelled as ultraism in football. You know, that's where the guys are struggling. But there's a lot of stuff where I think, you know, safe standing would help massively. Yeah. It would help massively across the board.
Again, it's another thing. Is, you know, why is it not? There is no legitimate reason why there shouldn't be stand. I mean, I don't want to go off this tangent here, but why there shouldn't be standing areas in football? It would make our life a lot easier, you know, and it would make everything better. There'd be so many benefits to it. There's absolutely, you know, no legitimate reason as to why it's not happening right now. We'll go back to what you're saying about what, you know, one thing we want to say is we don't want to stand all high and mighty and say, well, we're the better supporters and all that, because look, we do our thing. You know, for me, I could never ever watch a game of football and sit there. I could do it at home on TV, and even then, sometimes I want to just. It makes me just want to get up and sort of jump about, you know. So I'm never going to judge anyone. I'll never judge anyone if they just say, "I just want to go to football. I want to watch it. I'll support Ipswich my own way." We'd never do that. So I think if anyone in other stands feels insecure and they feel like, oh, you know, we're not getting the attention. Well, no, you know, it's okay. Maybe we're perhaps more vocal and more obvious with it, but you know.
Yeah, go on.
Have faith that, you know, you're supporting the club in the way you see fit, and that's a good thing. We'd never stand there and judge. The only people I say judge, that's a bit harsh, but we would expect more perhaps people from in our section and in the North Stand say, come on, you need to be doing a little bit more, because that's what you're here for, isn't it?
I think it is spreading. Like I sit just off section 6 at the back of section 5, and you can see in the lower, especially on Saturday, the lower the cobbled near you guys is starting to pick up. You know, it's going to take time, and I think hopefully, you know, I think you boys, the hard work you've put in is paying off.
It'll get there. So we're in no rush. You know, the worst thing you can do for anything is be impatient. You've got to let things grow. If you really want something to survive and thrive, you've got to let it grow. You know, you just nurture it. You help it along. If you try to rush it, and again, that comes back to against the culture thing. Well, people will say to us, "Oh, why get down the Alf Ramsey stand? You know, well, why aren't people singing the Alf Ramsey stand?" And think, well, why not? What are you scared of? Stand up, sing a little song. Some people might join in, some people might not. Okay. It's got that. Oh, lovely! Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Table service.
Thank you very much. Table service and everything in here. Look. Another reason to get down here. Another Pilsner straight down the patch.
I think it's people have got to perhaps not be so self-conscious, and maybe that might be an English thing. Because look, you know, it's really funny because I love it. You know, we watch these videos from like Argentina, like San Lorenzo, Estudiantes, or like Boca Juniors, or what have you. And it seems like these 7-year-old blokes just going absolutely crazy, and these little kids are jumping about, and like women and everyone, people of all ages. And perhaps that is an attitude in the culture over there, where they're not so self-conscious. They'll just get involved, and they're not scared of making a bit of a fool of themselves, maybe, you know. And maybe that's what needs to change. People just need to sort of perhaps be a bit.
I mean, this is England, isn't it? It's England. We've got to change that ideology. We've got to come back to our, you know, absolute humble beginnings. We've got to become the people that we were meant to be, rather than the people that we are. We don't go to work to come to football and just sit there all day long and do nothing. Look, we've got another one on. Look, there you go, mate. Bloody hell.
These are all free as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm alright, thanks. That's
right. Lovely job. Thank you for that. Right, boys, we can't stay on this too much longer. She stopped me there before I went off on a rant there, but Blue Action
Blue
Action special.
That was near the IpswichFanzone political party there.
Yeah, I'm backing down. I'm not supposed to have a point of view. Anyway, getting on Fleetwood this Saturday, and I'm really not looking forward to this trip, Mark.
That's the coach, isn't it?
North West Lancashire on a coach. It's going to take 7 hours at least on this coach.
We better bloody win.
I'll tell you what, if you're on coach 1, you better be well behaved, because I can't be putting up with anyone's shit. I don't know how many tickets we've got, but we've sold out apparently. But the stadium capacity is 5,327. Fleetwood currently sitting third on 20 points. Haven't played 10 matches. 3 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat from the last 5. This includes a 2-0 defeat to Lincoln, a 3-3 draw with Southend, who are not doing too well this season, and the defeats of Oxford, Roadshow and Shrewsbury. Impeccable home form this season with no loss in 5. Actually, the last time they officially lost at home, bar this Saturday, was against Luton on February the 16th. So they've been doing pretty well. Paddy Madden has started really well, 6 goals in 10. Josh Morris, who's returned from Scunthorpe, has got 4 in his opening 10. Attacking midfielder, someone to look out for. 2 dangerous threats there. Manager, of course, is Joey Barton, but tough opposition for Town on Saturday.
I'm calling it now. I think this is our toughest test so far, personally. You can argue Peterborough looking at their squad, but I think we played them at a fairly good time. I think Joey Barton's doing a good job up there. You know, to be fair, they look like they've got a very good combative League One squad. You know, you've got Ched Evans up there as well. Josh Morris, I swear he'd been linked with us for ages when he was at Scunthorpe. Really high quality League One player. You know, I think this will be the toughest test, and like you said, I hope this 7-hour coach trip is going to be worth it. Really, I'm not. If it's like it is today, which has been absolutely monsoon rain as well, I'm not looking forward to it unless we get 3 points.
Yeah, definitely. 7 hours there, 7 hours back. Max, I know you're not going to this one, mate, but
this one a swerve, mate.
yeah, swerving that one, are you? The missus wants you to go shopping, does she?
I've got to pick my battles, mate.
Yeah, I see that. Town unbeaten in 5 away from home this season, boasted a record of 4 wins and 1 draw. You know, are we looking like we're going to lose against Fleetwood?
We're top. They should be looking and thinking, bloody hell, we've got to play Ipswich. You know, we're top in the league. We're the team to beat. So we've got to stay confident. You know, yeah, I'm sure Fleetwood are a decent side, okay, but Peterborough are a decent side, Sunderland are a decent side. We should have beaten Sunderland. You know, and so far, you know, we've shown that we mean business. So let's just worry about ourselves. I think a draw would be a pretty good result. It would certainly suit us better than with them. But let's just do our thing. Let's just do our thing, and you know.
Yeah, Lambert would come out and say it's about how we play, but Fleetwood could surely have the same approach going into this one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they've had a mixed bag of results, more than we have. They've proved on their day that they can beat. You know, I think they beat Lincoln when Lincoln were looking decent. You know, obviously Lincoln have fallen off a cliff since. You know, they're one of them teams that on their day I think they could beat anyone in this division, and that's us included. We just, like Max was saying, we've got to do our thing, play how we know we can play, like MK Don's first half, Tranmere's second half. You know, if you can put them 2 performances from those halves together, that's taken some beating. That's probably mid-table championship form, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I don't know. I think Fleetwood are a very good side, and I don't know. That's probably the most nervous I've felt about a game so far. Really,
the season's it's a long season, and I think actually some people, I think in many ways, losing, you know, would actually do us. Not, it sounds like an odd thing to say, would do us a favour, because sometimes you get that and you think, oh, we mustn't lose, and that's okay. It's bouncing back. I think, you know, you need to know how you're going to cope in a slump.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know anything about anyone until how they cope when the chips are down. So actually, let's not get too, you know, we might lose. It could happen.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Wouldn't be the end of the world, though, would it?
Wouldn't be the end of the world. We just go again, and that's where the real, you know, the real men are made. That's where, you know, you really step up and just go for it.
Yeah, great view on that. 'Cause I'll share that, because until we get beaten, we don't really know where we stand.
No.
Obviously, we've got the Leeds West Brom game on here. It's currently 0-0, 21 minutes gone. But it's really hard to ignore when Patrick Bamford misses another sitter. And I know my dad's going to be seething when I get home. But in terms of this season, we're now at the business part of the season. First 10 games are out of the way. It's shaped our season. We know where we are. We're top of the league. The next 10, 20 games will determine our fate, though. You know, we need to be winning games now. We're in the business part of the season. First 10 games out of the way. Now 10 to 20. This is where it's going to shape our whole entire season.
Yeah, you know, and there's teams around, the teams that we're playing is shaping their seasons. You know, we've got Southend and Accrington to come, both struggling. They'll happily take a point against League One leaders. That might mean tougher sitting back, more possession, you know, actually taking control of a game, which sometimes I think we do struggle sometimes to take control of a game. And like you say, it is going to shape our season. These next 10, 20 games is where we really need to push on, you know. The rearranged fixture's going to come in. Leasing.com Champions League trophy games will fit in. We've got 2 rounds, potentially the FA Cup to fit in if we actually take the cup competition seriously this year. You know, there's a lot of games to come up, but we've got the squad. And going back to the point we made earlier about the Wycombe game being called off, you know, we've got to take these opportunities to have a full quota of players available. Regardless, maybe we had 3 games in 7 days. If you've got a full quota of squad to go from, you know you're in a good position there, really.
Yeah. So we need to be finishing on any side that, you know, comes to our doorstep. But coincidentally, we need to be finishing off teams in our own back garden as well. Max, who's our biggest contenders for the title this season?
I mean, to be honest with you, I still think Peterborough are a superb team. I think they've got that Marcus Madison. Is it Marcus Madison?
Yeah.
He's absolutely superb.
Inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes a player, though, inconsistency. You say you mentioned Marcus Madison there. You've got Ivan Toney as well there, who's basically Zaha in a Peterborough shirt.
Yeah, that Mo Oysa. I mean, that front three. I mean, I think Peterborough are still. You know, you'd have to think that Pompey eventually get their finger out. But certainly from what we've seen so far, I think I think Donny were really good. I think Donny were a good side. If they hadn't lost John Marquis, they probably would have.
Definitely playoff challenges for me.
Yeah, defo. So you just the good thing about a division like this, and championship to the extent, or that's become sort of a mini Premier League. Really, is the whole point is you don't really know. Who'd have thought Fleetwood would be up there? And perhaps some people would have been dismissive of us as well. So it's you don't really know. Let's just worry about who's in front of us on the day and who's behind us in May. That's the important thing, mate.
It's hard, isn't it? When you've got the table in front of you, you can see who's really going to be up there. But when you're at the top and looking down, it's really hard to see beyond your own tinted glasses, isn't it?
Definitely. We said this last week, I think. Like, there's teams where you think, shit, they're going to be tough opposition, and then they go and lose 3-0 next week. There's been so many of them. Like Doncaster were one, like Max was saying, looked absolutely class, probably the better team on the day against us at times, and then they lost the next game, I think, and they're still not really recovered since then. Fleetwood are another one, look amazing on the day, not so good on ever.
And that's what people should never.
Peterborough's another one. Peterborough got beaten by Doncaster, didn't they? There's so many teams. We just need to be that one team that rises above the inconsistency.
So people are too critical. They're saying we've still not gotten out of third gear or what have you. We're still not sort of we're getting the wins. We're doing what we need to do. Because this is it exactly. And it's if our so-called great sort of challengers or rivals in the division are sort of inconsistent, dropping points like that, then it's like, well, we're doing okay. What's the problem?
Yeah, we're currently 2 points clear at the top of the table with game in hand. Exactly. But yeah, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Thanks for watching tonight. Anyway, guys, make sure you leave comments below about any features that you've seen today. Obviously, Max from Blue Action, and obviously Mark Beck again, a seasoned professional on Fanzone, and a stalwart of this programme in itself. But thanks to obviously the Swan and Hedgehog tonight for the continuous pints. I won't forget that, and I'll come down here probably before match day, mate, to be fair.
Definitely happy hour, won't we?
Yeah, and I mean, is it happy? It's not happy hour on a Saturday though, so might have to pull a few strings on that one.
That's 3 till 4:45, isn't it? That's happy hour for us at Portland Road.
Very good.
Exactly. Love that. So thanks to them for tonight. Next week we're at the Gardener's Arms on Wednesday the 9th. Obviously Town are at home on Tuesday the 8th. So if you want to come down to the Gardener's Arms 7:15, just come and join in, sit and watch, or get involved if you want to. Me and Mark will be there. We have got a special guest. I'll confirm that next week. But until then, come on you Blues.